why do we always tend to focus on the problem? Like focus on the like we basically celebrate the negative stuff instead of celebrating the positive stuff. Like why do we seem to be wired in that kind of a way? And welcome back to 5 Ideas. If we haven't met yet, my name is Joey Nagel. I'm the co-host of the show with Rich Clay, and I'm actually a coaching client of Rich. Rich is a life and leadership coach. He coaches. If you haven't caught our first episodes, I'm kind of recapping. You can start at episode 1 and you can hear even more about this, but a quick brief summary of it is Rich coaches high achievers, actors, athletes, entrepreneurs, millionaires, etc. And I was really drawn to wanting to make my life successful in every area, not just one area. I was experiencing financial success from a young age. I'm currently 26 years old. I'm a partner of 3 different businesses, all which generate income. We have about 5 full-time employees that we have on our team, and we're continuing to grow every single day. And I just wanted to experience success in every area. In my marriage, in my walk with Jesus, in my relationships with my friends and family, in my finances, in my health, and fitness, and all those things, including money.
Sure.
But money it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's a tool, a resource that we can use, but a lot of times people just hyper focus on that one area. And Rich has created a method called the 5 Ideas Method, which focuses on 5 key areas. Rich, you want to tell us a little bit about those 5 areas?
Yeah, when I started coaching, what I discovered was everybody's problem fell under one of 5 categories. I know that sounds like oversimplification, but it's not. It would health and fitness, relationships, money, peak performance, faith and spirituality, and peak performance.
Yeah.
It was one of those areas. And the more I drilled down into that, the more I realized that oftentimes the problem wasn't the problem. We discussed that in one of our early podcasts.
Yep,
and so
absolutely.
we decided in this podcast, in one way or another, we'll focus on one of those 5 areas.
Yep.
And every week that we have a podcast, it's like being drawn into a coaching session.
Absolutely. That's exactly what this is. It's a coaching session where we get to hear Rich's perspective, and I'm kind of curating the questions and asking them on your behalfs. And if you do have any further questions or anything you want us to talk about on the show, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
And if you're listening just to the audio, we encourage you to check out the video cast that we actually have on YouTube. And we post snippets all over the internet on, every platform ever, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. But yeah, so that is what the show is all about. And today we're coaching and focusing on...
Here goes, drum roll.
Celebrations.
Ooh, celebration. It's my favorite. And Joey knows this because we meet every week.
Yep.
And typically the first question I'm going to ask him is, what do we have to celebrate this week? And the reason we do that, it is so easy to focus on everything else but our accomplishments.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes we have some great accomplishments to celebrate, but we're so consumed with the problem, the challenge, the next that we don't to celebrate. And celebration is essential for our well-being and our happiness.
Rich, I actually have a confession to make.
Yeah.
There's something that we did that I haven't celebrated.
Yeah, we broke our own rule, didn't we?
Yep. So we actually wrote a book, which I think you said less than 1% of Americans write a book.
Right.
And maybe close to 1% of
something like
the
that.
whole world write a book.
And we did it.
And we did it. And we're not saying that to brag.
Right.
It's something we wanted to accomplish so that we could get even more value out into the world in the 5 Ideas categories. The book's called iTunes. We'll link it in the description. You can find it on Amazon. But we haven't celebrated it yet.
And it's a really good book.
It is. It's a fantastic book.
It's easy to read, has a lot of practical suggestions. And we haven't celebrated, and we deserve at least a steak dinner, maybe we do something, right?
Absolutely.
We've got to do something to celebrate. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the importance of celebration, how to celebrate, and how to stay on track with your celebrations.
We'll take suggestions on how you think we should celebrate.
Good.
And we also want to hold you accountable to make sure that if you comment something that we should celebrate, make sure you comment something that you've accomplished that you maybe neglected to celebrate, and you should celebrate as well. And we can all celebrate together. But today, let's dive in. What is a celebration and why? My biggest question is, why do we always tend to focus on the problem? Like focus on like we basically celebrate the negative stuff instead of celebrating the positive stuff. Like why do we seem to be wired in that kind of a way?
Good question. Probably different for every person. However, I'm going to pull a chapter from our book. One reason is we don't walk in gratitude enough. There's not enough gratitude. And here's what happens. We think celebration should only be about, birthdays or something extraordinary. When I believe to get in a ritual, a routine, and a rhythm of celebration, we need to be accustomed to celebrating the small wins, because big wins are nothing but the culmination of many small wins over time.
That's true.
Yeah. And so what happens is we don't think it's a big enough thing to celebrate, number one. Number two is high achievers are always on to the next thing. That's why with my high-achieving clients, I bring them back. And what's amazing is this, okay? What's amazing is when I ask the question, what do we have to celebrate? There's usually a pause, and it goes like this. Well, I'm not sure if I have anything to celebrate. Why? Because they came into the coaching session, rightly so, getting ready to deal with the problem. But once they start, it's amazing. Once they start talking about what they had to celebrate the last week, they're actually in a better mood. Their energy levels up, their passion levels up, and now they're kind of excited about attacking the problem.
Absolutely.
Because they can see something to celebrate that went well last week.
And that's been one of my favorite parts of our coaching sessions. Every Thursday, we coach at 10 a.m., and Rich asks me, what are we celebrating? And I've kind of switched my focus to, I get to talk about this. And the coaching session in of itself becomes a mini celebration right there, just saying it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's as simple as just, you know what? That was actually something that was on my list that got checked off. And this could be anything. I mean, this could be like you cleaned your car. And you like having a nice car, and you wanted your car to be clean so that when you go to work and you go to different places, you feel good about yourself. You check that off and you celebrate. Drive that clean car to Starbucks and grab yourself a coffee and say, good job. It doesn't have to be, a super elaborate, expensive like vacation. Yeah. And in some cases it can be and should be.
Right.
But like there's so many miniature celebrations you can have all day long.
Yeah.
And then your mind is kind of focused on the positive things versus the negative things. And that's a principle
goal
that Rich talks to me and teaches me a lot, is like, and I can tell you firsthand that it works really, really well to be able to just even talk about what was accomplished and celebrate that. But what are some practical ways? Or go ahead. Sorry.
Let me just give you one big area why people don't celebrate enough too, is if they get into comparison. So for example, let's say physical fitness or whatever, and let's say, your goal is you're just starting out in running and you want to break, that 10-minute mile, 9-minute mile, 8-minute mile. But somebody else you talk to go, oh yeah, I run 5-6-minute miles all the time. So you don't think your stuff is that big a deal. I'm telling you, your stuff is huge. Just the fact that you're getting out there and doing it and making progress. So as your coach, I'm going to make you celebrate. I'm going to champion you like crazy. You did what? That's great. That's awesome. And I first learned this principle as a dad, raising kids, is like, make a big deal out of what they do. Make a big deal out of it. Parents who are always trying to compare it to the next, you don't want to do that. You don't want to live a life of comparison. And that's what I've found out. That is a hindrance. I think if you begin to eliminate those two things that I brought up, comparison and not dwelling on the gratefulness of life, there's so much you can celebrate, and it can just become a regular part of your life. Here's another thing. The majority of teams that I work with in the consulting world, most people in organizations do not feel valued and they don't feel like their contributions are being recognized. And I think it's because sometimes we're always looking for some big thing instead of looking for a small thing that we can celebrate and gather around that person and say, "Good job, keep going, you're doing great."
Ooh, that's a good principle that I haven't thought about too. Like you can actually, we talk a lot about planting seeds and reaping a harvest of what you plant, of the same, if you sow corn, you reap corn.
Right.
But you can actually sow celebration because you could celebrate other people that may not even be recognizing it themselves.
Yeah.
You could give somebody that thing that you're looking for and give them just a pat on the back and say, "Wow, that was a really, really good job, really good effort, really good." Like I've been seeing you at the gym every morning. No matter what they're doing, just good effort being here. I've been seeing you caring a little bit more about your weight. I've been seeing this, all those different things. It's like you could sow that into people, celebrate them.
Absolutely. That's, to be honest with you, I know that principle, but I need to operate in it more because I want 2023 to be a year of celebration for me.
Wow.
So I can sow the seed of celebration. It's a great idea. I think a couple other ideas about how to celebrate is just to be aware of the fact that you are doing a whole lot more good than you are failure. And we have a tendency to focus on what we're not doing, what we're not accomplishing. But if we can just step back in the day, I actually use a daily planner, and it asks me every week and then every month, what were the top things that I accomplished? And it amazes me how many times I don't think about it. But then when I do, I go back and I'm proud of this, I'm proud of that, I'm proud of this. And also in our culture, Joey, don't you think sometimes too that we've, there's this thing about ego and boasting and bragging. And so we try to pull away from that. And in doing that, I think there's this false sense of humility, and then we don't celebrate like we should.
Right. We like miniaturize or like make it, insignificant when really it is something, to be celebrated. Even small milestones. It is. You passed a class in college. You got promoted in your job, even if it's just a small promotion, like it's worth celebrating. Yeah. And it's not all bragging either. No.
And my mother-in-law is great at this. And I wasn't quite prepared for this when I first got married, but it's almost like birthdays were over the top. And I don't mean just gifts. I mean like we celebrate you, Rich, you're a wonderful person, you're all of this. And then after something, I would do something that I'm not even considering. She's like, "Hey, we need to celebrate. You did this, you graduated, or you did this, or you ran a mile, or you did."
Yeah.
It was like, wow. I had to step back and go, wow, she's really excited about my accomplishment. Maybe I should be more excited about my accomplishment. And maybe I should be more excited about other people's accomplishments.
I honestly think that's the key right there. What you just said, it just clicked in my head. I think the key is celebration isn't arrogance as long as you're not only celebrating yourself. Mm-hmm. You're sharing that celebration and sowing that celebration to others because, and they're going to want to celebrate you back. Yeah. Because it's good. Yeah. It's good to acknowledge that stuff. And in the book that Rich talked about that we wrote, iTunes, the chapter on gratitude, talking about how to actually control your happiness. You can actually create an environment where you're in control of your happiness due to the fact that you're choosing to focus and be grateful on the things that you do have, and you're not comparing yourself to others. I think that's the biggest takeaway I got from this episode is like, don't compare yourself to others. That would probably be number one. And number two would be sow the gratitude into others as well, the same gratitude that you would want. And if you're looking for more information and more resources, I'd encourage you to pick up the book. The link is in the description. You can grab a copy on Amazon. And if you're looking to go even further and you're like, man, I've heard this show so many times and I want to take it a step further, I'd encourage you to reach out to Coach Rich Clay at coachrichclay.com. Link will also be in the description. And set up a 1 hour or 30 minute,
1 hour
30-minute consultation. And
see if it's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a conversation. What do you want in life? What are you looking for? And I believe that I can help people reach their goals and dreams. And there's nothing like having a coach in your corner and being accountable to seeing those things come.
So if you're even slightly interested, check out the website, schedule a little time for a quick chat with Rich and see if it's the right next step for you, or pick up a copy of the book. Or, as always, we're going to continue providing a ton of free resources, just like this podcast and just like our subscription that comes out every month called 25 Ideas, where we give you 5 ideas in each of the 5 categories that you can apply to your life today to start seeing some real change in your life. And with that, we thank you so much for joining us at the table in your seat for this episode of 5 Ideas, and we'll catch you on the next one.